Fourth race weekend of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. The BMW IBSF Tour is in North America, and we're at the host city for the 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympic Games. We're in Lake Placid in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. This is the epicenter of US ice sliding and one of the greatest racetracks on the planet. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me Ben Sanford. And Ben, fantastic first heat for Annie O'Shea of the USA.
Yeah, it really was. Really nice run. Local here in Lake Placid, doing a fantastic job of driving down the track. Good start at the top of the track and good result at the bottom.
Best ever World Cup result for her has been an 8th place. She was 8th last race out. Laura Dees of Great Britain set the fastest run in the heat off the second fastest start. She won her first ever World Cup race in the season opener in Altenburg in Germany, and she has the chance to go and do it here in North America for the first time.
Yeah, having a really good season. Nice run here in Lake Placid today.
Not alone in the lead, because her time was tied by the fast starting Marina Giordani, and Marina is having a real breakout season this year.
Yeah, really good result at the last World Cup in Koenigsegg, backing it up today in the first heat in Lake Placid.
Well, her first ever World Cup medal was last time out in Bavaria, and Marina ties with Laura Dees. They will go second last and last in the second heat. Annie O'Shea will defend her third place and maybe try and close on the leaders. From a 10th back on this track, anything is possible. Some of our expected front runners are way down the order. Last year's silver medalist Elizabeth Vace 84 hundredths away. And at the bottom of the field, two rookies from Russia, Anastasia Schlapak and Renata Kutsina, on their first view of the track, made the heat. Katie Tannenbaum of the Virgin Islands did not make it through. She joins the fans at the side of the track. And there is Renata. Air temperature -1, and that is around 21 degrees warmer than it was over the last couple of days. Ice temperature -4, -5 for the last couple of days. It was much colder earlier in the week. And Ben, that changes the nature of the track. From ice that's -15 to -20 to -5 is a big, big difference. I mean, you might think, well, ice, it's slippery. What can change?
Yeah, it does change the ice conditions, and one of the things about being a skeleton athlete is that you have to match your sled and your runners to the ice conditions. And so as the ice has warmed up during the week and the weather conditions have warmed up, you now have a new dynamic on race day where you have to think about things in a slightly different way.
Renata Kutsina, 20th in the first heat, will be first off, and she'll be followed by teammate Anastasia Schlapak, both making their World Cup debuts here as we go 20 down to 1 in reverse order. Both rounds count, so if you had a disappointing first one, you can improve your position by tidying up your act. And those at the top of the tree, Marina Giordani, Annie O'Shea and Laura Dees, will try desperately not to allow any mistakes to creep in. And Jacqueline Narracott, 4th for Australia. Maybe a chance of her wrinkling her way into her first ever World Cup medal. So for Russian rookie Renata Kutsina, her second ever slide in competition in Lake Placid. It's her first World Cup race. 20th in the first heat. She gets ready to take on this track once more.
Here we go, come on. Go!
Just 22-year-old, drawn in 3 years ago from track and field to the Russian skeleton program. She's been competing in the Europa Cup.
Using the left groove at the top of the track, and you saw the left groove just push her a little bit right as she exited the groove, and that just gives her a middle line going into corner 1. You want to be early into corner 1. That allows you to get the steer and get the top of the track nice and smooth. Through 4, 5, 6 here, corners that are coming at you really quickly. You really have to be on top of what's happening. A little bit too long on corner 8 there, taking the late line into corner 10.
That's known as the Devil's Highway here to the first big corner on the track. Shady too, the shades are down, and then through the lower labyrinth. And Ben, 19 turns, including this, quote, straight, which is a chicane. So many opportunities to get it wrong.
Well, 18 turns, and then the 19th turn is after the skeleton finish.
Yeah. And
the last 2 corners are going uphill. And you see a lot of people hit as they come out of corner 18. Right before the finish line, and not the best run, but it's her first World Cup.
Yep.
Great day.
56.88 to a 56.79 first heat. Now, yesterday in training, we saw the track give away about 0.4 of a second in the second run.
You can see her here in corner 8, and you just actually can see in that shot the marks that the sled is making on the ice. And making those marks in a skeleton sled is often a result of not quite having the right line and having too much pressure. And coming out of corner 18 there, head up and hitting the wall before the finish line.
Yeah. Really pinballing down through the lower corners there. So Renate Kutsina nevertheless made the cut and gets points in her first ever World Cup race. And another Russian rookie, Anastasia Shlapak. Now, Anastasia, I was just chatting to the coaches, she has results in bobsled as well. And they said, yeah, she drives bobsled as well, but we're going to keep her. Why are they going to keep her? Well, because she was the 4th fastest starter in the field. That's why they're going to keep her. Of course, if they have to arm wrestle Pierre Luders for her, that might be a different situation. Yeah, that's a tough battle to win.
Yeah, that is. Pierre normally gets his way.
5:31, that is an outstanding getaway.
Nice line from 1, 2 into 3. Taking that head as she comes out of 3. Oh, a bit of a tap there on the right wall before 4. A bit early in 5. Having to work quite hard through 4, 5, 6 here. Once you're off the line in these corners, it's so difficult to get it back.
She was looking a little more relaxed than the first heat. Through Shady, good exit.
Taking a middle line there into corner 11. Avoiding the hit on the exit of 12.
She's got a lead over her teammate of a 1/3 of a second, and that's growing. 1:13.4. Speed's not great, and that suggests maybe they've gone for a bit of a conservative runner setup just to give them the control and the confidence to get down safe. But 0.6 ahead of her teammate. That's a really good-looking run. 56.38, and that is 0.4 of a second better than her first heat. That would have left her 17th in the first run rather than 19th. Well, she clearly learns fast as well, Ben, and that's really important at this stage. If you can throw an athlete down the track and in 6 runs they continue to get these big slices of time.
Yeah, Lake Placid is a difficult track, and it's a difficult track to learn in 1 week. So if this is your first time on the track, there's a lot of corners to learn. They're coming at you quickly, and each run down, and even the race runs today, are going to be a learning experience for you.
Well, they all say, first timers, they all say this is so hard. So many corners, they just rush at you. There's no rest. There is Anastasia Shlapak, our leader. And you get phrases like tumble dryer, washing machine, you know, those are the ones that everybody comes up with to try and describe how frantic this track is. Jos de Kans of the Netherlands, 15th fastest start, 18th fastest slide. She's got a little wayward on her Bromley sled. And there's something that you're not used to from Europa Cup. Lots of noise in the start area. There's so many things that are different when you're competing at this level that those 2 young Russians have had to deal with.
Joska looking quite good through the top section of the track, looking comfortable on the sled. Nice line from 5 into 6. Coming out of 7, there's always seems to be a bump when you come out of 7. No matter what happens, it's always a bit rough.
Been a team of one almost all her life in skeleton, hasn't she, as the Dutch slider? There's almost never been a men's skeleton slider around her.
Yeah, and coached by Martin Rettel this season, and this is one of the first seasons in a long time I haven't seen Joska's mum on the circuit with her, who's been her normal helper on the circuit, but she spent some money and got a coach, and hoping things get better.
Well, when you're in the dark, when you're sliding blind as you are without a coach to give you advice, so yeah, that really is going to make a big difference. 56.32, and again, that was a clear 0.3 of a second better than her first run, and Bennett looked less sideways and less wild as well.
Yeah, it definitely did. Much better run from Joska and more composed in the second heat. And Martin Rettel, her coach, is a great coach, and he would have had a few words with her in between the heats and, you know, told her how she can improve for the second run. Coming out of corner 12, they're just tapping that wall. Not too hard, though. Nice position on the sled coming out of corner 14 and through the chicane.
Almost avoids the wall, takes the little second tap that sets her up for the next turn down into corner 17. So Joska de Kans of the Netherlands has the lead. Yesterday, her 20th birthday. Today, Carina Meyer lies in 17th place in our 4th World Cup women's skeleton race of the season. So really still on the upward development curve. I want to go back actually one day when we've got a little bit of downtime and figure out where she is compared to where Janine Flock was at 20 years of age. Another hugely experienced coach, Mickey Grumberger, the Austrian. He's also coaching Swiss skeleton sliders this year.
Yeah, one of those her coach Mickey, one of those skeleton sliders from the Austrian team in the 90s who were just so dominant, won a world championships in the early 90s.
Yeah, he, Andy Schmidt, and of course the best of them all probably Alexander Auer, whose two sons are now sliding, one of them who we'll see tomorrow. I was saying to him, is your dad, Christian Auer rather, saying to Alexander, is your dad coming to the World Champs? And he said, yeah, he's been at the track all year coaching Austrian athletes. And finally, after a decade away, Christian Auer returning. Karina Meyer, though, still behind Joske LeConte and skiddy through the chicane.
Yeah, Karina having a decent run at the top of the track and sort of a little bit sideways through the bottom part here, but I'm not sure if she's been to Lake Placid a whole lot before.
Don't think she's been here at all before. 57.01, so that was a slower run than her first. In fact, that's slower than anybody on the second heat. So Joske LeConte, 0.3 of a second better herself, and that's always what you need, is to improve within yourself and try and then pick up the pace. One of the hardest things, to my eyes, in skeleton is not getting down in one piece, which is tough enough, but doing it consistently fast.
Karina using the right-hand groove here, and you can see how she just comes out and heads to the left a little bit, and that gives you an early line going into corner 1. 14 and through 15 and 16. 15 and 16 aren't real corners, they're sort of just part of the chicane. Touching a few walls there, and that sets her up for 17.
So Joske LeConte of Netherlands leads from Anastasia Schlapak, Karina Meyer in third. And now our fifth slider in this second heat is Olga Potilitsina. Now, she's not a World Cup rookie, but she hasn't been a regular in the World Cup team for Russia in the last couple of seasons. Won the first race of the 2011 and 12 season in her first ever World Cup appearance, and rocked us all back on our heels thinking, oh my goodness, now what's this? She's never achieved that sort of standard really since.
Yeah, Olga has a lot of experience and she's a good slider. Oh, a bit of a tap there as she come out of corner 1. Any mistakes at the top of the track are going to cost you.
I haven't seen Willi Schneider this weekend, who is the head coach of the Russians and builds all their sleds, but then their top stars aren't here, so it's probably the case that he is back in Europe training them up to try and excel in the World Championships in February.
Olga looking good through 6, 7, 8, 9. Coming through corner 12 now into corner 13. Corner 14 is so important, sets you up for the chicane. So important to get the timing right.
Head up on a big skid. Better speed though than Joske LeConte, and she's extended her lead over the Dutch girl from the first heat.
Heading uphill here. Uphill and over the finish line.
The aggregate of the two runs put together sees her with the lead over Joske by half a second, 56.16. Joske with a good second heat though, might ride her coattails a little further up the order. 56.16 would have seen her in 15th place instead of 16th for Olga in the first heat, so it would have been a massive improvement.
Coming around corner 14 here, 14, if you can get that timing right, it sets you up perfectly and you go straight through the chicane without hitting any of those walls. It's a little bit sideways. Whenever the sled's going sideways, that's losing you time.
Big smile as ever from Olga. You saw those big showers of ice coming out of the wall. You know how hard she hit it. Olga Potilitsina leads from Joske LeConte and Anastasia Schlapak. 5 down, 15 to go in Lake Placid. 15th after the first heat, Japan's Takako Oguchi. Oguchi, just 21 years old, sliding on a Bromley sled. This is her first World Cup race of the season. .541. Now what she does have is a very good start. She was 7th in the field in the first heat at the start. What she doesn't have is as much experience of the ice as some of the other fast getaway girls.
Lake Placid's one of those tracks that it really helps if you can keep coming back here year after year and building that experience. And the more runs you get on the track, the better you're going to be, the better your timing is going to be, the better you're going to be able to deal with problems on the track. Skeleton's all about dealing with problems as you go down. You can never have the perfect line, so you're always trying to fix things. And the quicker you can fix things and get back on a line, the faster you're going to be.
This is a better looking second heat from Oguchi. 1:13.6, second quickest through the chicane at this stage in the heats. Still tying for the lead. Will she be in the green? She is by 600ths ahead of Olga Potylitsina. So we saw Katsuhiro Koshi, the Japanese coach. And Takako Oguchi has the lead of the race. 56.17, just 100th of a second slower than Olga Potylitsina, so she survived on her first heat advantage of 700ths.
See her here coming into corner 12, around corner 12. Corner 12's tricky. It starts off very flat. The entrance is very long, and then it drops way near the end of the corner, and it makes getting the stair in corner 12 quite troublesome for the skeleton sliders.
Big smile from Takako Oguchi. She is our race leader. She was 600ths of a second, 800ths of a second in front of her was Michaela Widmer, the Canadian-born Swiss. Michaela having a bit of a renaissance this season. Back in the World Cup as part of the Swiss team, and with Mickey Grunberger's coaching, certainly seems to be helping. 5:64. Her first start was 5:60, and that was the 19th start in the field. So it's when she gets onto the sled that she actually starts to work.
Yeah, and you can see how Michaela's steering the sled, like at the top of the track where it's difficult to use your shoulders and your knees because there's not so much pressure and not so much speed, so she's using her toes a little bit in the straights to correct. In an ideal world, you don't want to do that. You want to be able to do the steering in the corner and then you let the sled fly in the straights.
Sliding style, very like Katie Uhlaender with the feet apart. Normally you try and go with a sort of a fish-like profile with the heels together, but it clearly works well for Katie, works well for Michaela as well to have that pressure a little bit with the knees on the back runners, back off the runners. Still behind Takako Oguchi though, and she drops behind Olga Potylitsina as well. Couldn't hold the second run together the way she did with the first. So that was just over half a second slower than her first heat in a track that does seem to be able to give you the speed that it did earlier on.
Of course, head over to the Lake Placid Olympic Museum and learn about the history of Lake Placid.
Coming out of corner 10 here, you can see her just trying to steer and not quite one with the sled. The sled starts to skid at the bottom of that straight. Coming into corner 12. Does well there, doesn't get the hit on the exit of corner 12. But just needs to keep her shoulders down and head down and really relax into the sled.
First of our German athletes is Sophia Griebel, tied for 12th position with last year's silver medalist on this track, Elisabeth Vache. Sophia, 25-year-old from Oberhof in Germany, hometown or home track of the great Andre Lange and many, many more, of course. Dirk Matjens, the coach there, another former slider. He must have been competing when you were in your formative years.
Yeah, he sure was. I have many fond memories of competing against Dirk. Normally beating him too.
There you go. That's why they're fun. 5:49 getaway for Sophia Griebel.
Sophia's a very good slider, very good athlete, coming through the German program. It's a tough ask to make the German World Cup team. They have a good group of athletes and some good sliders in there. A little bit sideways there between 5, 6.
Very different nature this track from pretty much anywhere else, and certainly from the German tracks. You know, there's no Kreisel, those corkscrew whip arounds. It's much busier than, well, even than Altenburg.
Yeah, every track is unique and every track is different and has its own characteristics. And Lake Placid here, it's fast and the top speed isn't so high, but the corners come at you quickly, and it's a track which is a bit rough around the edges. It's a little bit bumpy, it's a little bit tough.
And her lack of experience has cost her. Takako Oguchi remains in the lead. Jens Muller, well, he didn't slide skeleton. He was a loose slider at the same time that Dirk was sliding skeleton. Sophia Griebel in third place at the moment. Jens Muller, Olympic gold medalist in Calgary for the DDR. 1988. He was one of their real standout losers.
$35 at the order store.
Well, the Germans are a long way from home here in terms of geography, but also in terms of experience, Ben, and little slip at the start wouldn't have helped either. He should have been thinking about that in the first three corners.
Yeah, when you make a mistake, you really have to refocus and forget about it as quickly as possible. Just move on to the next thing, and if you dwell on something in skeleton, you're going to miss the next thing, and then you're just going to lose time.
You've got to be thinking ahead, not thinking behind. Elizabeth Vache will be thinking ahead, and remembering Malcolm Gomer-Lloyd, one of the greats of bobsledding, and a real legend of the sport who passed away, sadly, just over a week ago. And, he was a friend to many, many around the world in the tracks, not just in bobsled, but in skeleton as well. And, of course, spent a lot of time living and working in Canada.
Yeah, always willing to give advice and give help, and whether you're a skeleton athlete or a bobsled athlete, and regardless of the country you come from, real gentleman of the sport in that way.
We talked to Elizabeth after the first run, saying what was going wrong. She says, I don't know, it was just kind of all over the place. And Ben's superb coaching tips to her was, well, just be perfect on the second run and tidy everything up. There you go.
There you go.
That's why he pulls down the big dollars, everybody. Let's see if she is closer to perfect. Quarter second up on Takako Oguchi from the first heat, and she hasn't got that. 109.5. She's going to drop behind Oguchi as well. The big surprise of the second heat so far will be the Japanese Takako Oguchi, I think. Oh no, Vache.
This is going to be close.
Easing away now. She had better speed through the chicane. Yeah, here we go. 55.95. That's a better run, but only 0.05 of a second faster than her first run. So there is something about this track and Elizabeth Vache today that is not how it was 12 months ago, a little longer than that at the beginning of last season. I haven't seen Mum Rita here either this weekend. I don't think she's here.
I'm sure she'll be in Park City next week and then in Whistler, baking those cookies. Coming out of corner 3 here, taking that tap on the left-hand side. You're going to see all the athletes doing that. They do that to set themselves up for corner 4. Coming through the chicane here, just hitting there on the right-hand side as you're going uphill. Then you go over the crest and you come into corner 17.
Next up, USA's Kendall Westenberg, World Cup rookie this season. So heading to Europe and tracks she barely knows. Now, finally, she's back on one that's at least more familiar.
Yeah, Kendall's a real talent for the future in the US program.
25 years old, she was the European Cup champion in 2014-15, so she has slid in Europe as well as North America, but from Modesto, California, bit of a culture shock in terms of how warm it was at home at Christmas compared to how cold it's been this week.
Yep, the weather in California sounds a whole lot better. Maybe not this week, whereas you have El Nino and all the rain there, but generally it sounds a lot better than being in cold Lake Placid.
Standing atop the leader box in first place.
Kendall Westenberg, 700 of a second behind Elizabeth Vache.
Nice line through 10. You want that height in 10.
Better speed than the Canadian.
Still doing that scorpion when she comes out of corner 12, though.
Yeah.
Really
1:15.4, best speed we've seen so far. We will see quicker, but this is a good run. Should keep her in the lead.
Yeah, really nice through the chicane.
Now, can she make a top 10 finish? That would be a good result. Elizabeth Vache says goodbye from the leaders box, 55.76. Well, that would have left her in 9th place after the first heat, 200ths out of 8th. So that is a good, that could well be a top 10 finish for Kendall.
Great bottom section of the track from Kendall. Really allowed the sled to do the work and relaxed on the sled, building that speed. Coming through corner 12 there, that leg again just sort of flipping over to the other side of the sled, but she allowed the sled to keep going, keep moving.
Well, her European experience showed earlier in the season, 18th, 12th and 14th. She's the leader with 10 to go. Elizabeth Vache lies second. Takako Oguchi is third here in Lake Placid. It has been achingly cold all week. -21, -22 is the daytime high, but Ben Sanford under clear blue skies and blistering sunshine. It's not exactly been warm enough to take any clothes off, but boy, this place has rarely looked any better.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here today. Snow on the ground, clear sky, white-faced mountain in the distance.
A little bit more human temperature as well. It's below or above -10, whichever way, warmer than -10, so around -5, -6. Of course, when you're in the shade there on that climb up to the finish line, you don't get any benefit from the sun. But it is, yeah, it's been really tough, especially for the skeleton athletes in training. Even if they're wearing thermal underwear under their speed suit, they're not wearing tracksuits, they're not wearing warmers of any kind. You think, oh, they're only sliding for a minute, you know, how bad can it be? It's -20 out, and there's a 70-mile-an-hour wind chill factor, and you're in your underwear. It's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad, and when you're warming up, you can't warm up because it's so cold. And when the temperature drops below about -15, you can actually feel it when you're sliding. Normally there's the adrenaline, you don't feel the cold. But when it drops below -15, yeah, you can feel that wind chill and that cold when you're on the sled, and that's not pleasant.
Nah, not at all. Well, men and women's bobsled races coming up shortly. You can already see the athletes doing the track walks as we get ready to get our second part of the heat underway. There's Whiteface Mountain, showing exactly why it gets the name. The Alpine events in 1980 held there, and between us and the village of Lake Placid are the ski jump towers as well, just down the bottom of the Olympic Centre here, the biathlon ranges. So this is a very compact Olympic region just outside the town of Lake Placid. Welcome back to Lake Placid in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. 10 to go in the fourth race of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven and Ben Sanford in the booth. Tina Herman blasts off, tied for 9th in Heat 1.
Tina, the World Cup leader, wearing the gold jersey. Just struggling there as she came out of the groove a little bit, just having to work quite hard to get the line into corner 1. Moving a lot on the sled, Tina, today. You can see her just using her toes on the ice, tapping the ice, trying to get the line that she wants. You don't have to have a perfect line here in Lake Placid.
Only 13th fastest start in the first heat. She was a little quicker in the second, but what she's got is somehow the ability to feel the ice really well.
Yeah, she does. Like, she's a very good slider. She's the World Cup leader. She's on good equipment. She has good coaches. She knows what she's doing. And she's got the lead here, and she's fast, 117.
Big speed. Fastest we've seen up until now was our former leader, Kendall Westenberg, at 1:15.4. Tina Herman with a really good second run, 42 hundredths ahead of the American. So she goes into the lead, but there are still 9 to come. She is not going to continue her gold medal run after the Christmas break. Not here at any rate. She had a silver and 2 golds in the first 3 races of the season. She leads now. 55.39 slide, Ben. That was 0.4 of a second better than her first run.
Yeah, much better run than the first run. Yeah, just coming out of the groove. The groove hasn't been great on the left-hand side today.
I can't believe they haven't had to recut that. I don't understand why the jury haven't had that mellowed out after the first run.
I'm sure they have. It just changes. It's one of those things.
Tina Herman of Germany, the leader. She was tied to the 100th of a second with Jane Channel of Canada. Jane, the 3rd fastest starter in the first heat. Tina, the 13th. And Jane clearly over the summer rather, has been spending a little on some great airbrush work. Fantastic looking helmet and sled pan.
And you saw her there just looking at the timing eye and just waiting for that green light. You have to wait for the light to turn from red to green until you can push off at the start.
Away she goes. Jane, her first year in the World Cup last year, real breakout season. She put in some sterling performances. 5:22 getaway, finds another 0.04 of a second in her start. That is actually the fastest start of the competition so far. Quicker than anybody in Heat 1.
Yeah, Jane's a great athlete and so quick at the start. So helpful to be fast at the start and have that speed immediately when you get onto the sled.
5:22 ties the start record. She's opened up a 38/100ths of a second lead over Tina Herman, with whom she was tied in the first heat. 1:10 is exactly where Tina Herman was. Herman 1:17 as she shot the chicane, but Channel dropping back. Big skid. This is going to be very close by the finish line, Ben.
It sure is, and now she's heading uphill and she doesn't quite have the same speed, so it's going to be close.
Was 2/10 up, and she comes, she loses 3/10 of a second. Wow. Coach Evo can't believe that. And I don't think Tina Herman could read that either.
That's some good racing. She had it, and then in the last part of the track, she just didn't quite have the speed and she lost it.
That heart, that's a good name for it. It's named for its shape, but it could equally be named for the shape, for the way that it rips the heart out of your run sometimes. So Jane Channel in second spot.
Yeah, nice position on the sled there, coming around 14. This is where she loses it, just touch. If she had a clean chicane, she probably would have been in the lead right now, but she touches, she skids across the track and then skids into corner 17.
Wasn't a big hit, but it was just enough to send her sideways all the way up that uphill straightaway. Tina Herman leads for Germany. The standout sensation of her rookie season, Kim Meilmans, lying in 8th place in the World Cup rankings, and she is 8th place here as well. She looked very relaxed between the two runs, caught up with her briefly after she just checked over her sled. I said, how did it feel? And she shook her head a bit. I said, you look pretty relaxed. And she looks pretty relaxed in this run as well. 5:43, another couple of hundreds quicker at the start.
Yeah, Kim's doing so well. First season on the World Cup, and look at her position on the sled. Like, she shoulders are down, head is down. She looks comfortable. She looks relaxed and composed.
Expectations 0, and so she is completely outperforming anything that she might have even dreamt of, I'm sure, in her rookie season. And Martin Rettel must be really relishing this young slider. She's dropped into the red behind Tina Herman.
Yeah, nice lines, a little bit of a tap there as she came out of corner 10. Again, just touching a little bit in the chicane on the right, then the left.
Herman at 1:17, the quickest through the chicane we've seen so far. Now she's slipping behind Jane Channel, but this is looking like another top 10 finish. No, she's in 4th place with 7 to go. She may not get the top 10 finish. Again, that was another really composed-looking run from Kim Meilmans. 19 years old still, the youngest in the field. And you can't overstate that enough, I think. She's very youthful. She's got very little experience. Sarah Lavrencic there, who's working as a physio with her.
Coming out of corner 3 here, taking that tap on the left-hand side, setting her line for corner 4. Coming through corner 7 here, you see that bump as you come out of corner 7. It just sort of drops out of corner 7, 8 and into 9. That sets you up for shady.
Big smile as ever on the face of Kim Meilmans. Jacqueline Lurling ready to take on Tina Herman, her teammate, who is our current leader. Tina 9th equal after the first heat. Jacqueline Lurling in 7th place. She was 11/100ths quicker, and that is not a margin here. She's from Bischofswiesen in Bavaria. She's from Winterberg in Germany. We had the World Championships last year. She took silver medal there in December. Last race in Winterberg. 5:61, that's 800ths quicker than her first start. To find nearly a 10th at the top, Ben, is quite an achievement.
Yeah, Jacqueline's a good slider, and you can see her on the sled. You watch where her body position is on the sled. She looks so relaxed. You can see her sort of shaking around, and that's because she's so relaxed. You don't want to be stiff on the sled. As soon as you're stiff on the sled, you're going to be slow, and you're not going to be able to steer well.
Tallest athlete in the field, something Ben Sanford knows all about, because that's what we've said about him every single time we've ever seen him on camera, I'm sure.
Every single time.
Every single time. Well, it was either that or going about the curly hair. 1:16.8, good speed in the chicane, but she's still behind and dropping further back. Tina Herman is climbing way up the order. Jacqueline Lurling down to 3rd place with a 4th best slide. 55.85 is 2/10 slower than her first heat.
Yeah, the German coaches there maybe not looking as happy as in the first 3 World Cups.
Yeah. So Sophia Griebel currently lies 9th, Jacqueline Lurling 3rd, Tina Herman leads, but there are still 6 to go.
Pushing on the upside of the sled there, using the left-hand groove. And nice straight line coming out of the groove. Head down as she comes out of corner 14, just lifts the head up to see where she's going. Coming over the crest and into corner 17.
Here is the finished dock, just down above our TV area. And up at the start, the final 6 sliders in this 4th World Cup race of the season. Our World Cup champion from last year, Janine Flock of Austria. She drew start number 1. She was the first to find out that this left-hand groove kicks you sideways, and that probably cost her. Lots of Austrian bobsledders yelling her away at the top.
Coached by Mickey Grunberger. And again, that groove just pushing her across to the right and having to use her toe to correct and get a decent line into corner 1.
She was ready for it this time, so it didn't cause quite so much of a problem. 3/10 up on Tina Herman from the start.
Maybe a little bit early in 4, a little bit early in 5, but still looking composed and in control on the sled.
Crossover in the curve.
She had a 55.52 first slide. The bronze medal is a quarter second away, 55.26. But we've seen big changes on this track. She's gone from 3/10 to 2/10 in front. 1:15 is slow. But if she can keep that on board, then she should still have the lead over Herman.
Yeah, really good line through the chicane.
No, it's gone away. Tina Herman is going to have a top 6 finish. Yes.
That's some really close sliding there. Great racing.
0.06 of a second. Janine Flock's chance of another medal on this track. She was in the bronze medal position last year. That has gone away. That's not going to happen with 5 to go. Surely that can't happen.
Yeah, good run from Janine, but just shows how good Tina's run was.
Yeah.
Coming around corner 14. Corner 14 is so important, and she does this so well. Relaxed on the sled, goes straight through the chicane without touching any walls.
Just didn't have speed. 1:15.5, Herman 1:17. She only lost by 0.06 of a second. Tina Herman, the leader, 5 to go.
Is clear from the finish. 2-star 1 for Donna.
Come on, Donna. Come on, Donna.
Welcome back to Lake Placid in New York State. 5 sliders to go, this 4th Women's Skeleton World Cup race. Donna Crichton from Great Britain, 5th fastest at the start, 5th at the finish line. She is one of 2 British girls in the top 5. This is in medal contending position potentially, but she's got to beat Tina Herman of Germany, who's rising fast up the order. 5:33, that's another few hundreds quicker than her first getaway.
Got 4 tenths in the bank at the moment. How long can that last? Will it last?
Little heavy hit off 3.
4, 5, 6 comes at you so quickly. It's a difficult section of the track. She does well there. Setting herself up for 10. Corner 10 has a big right-hand corner. You fly out of 10 downhill into 11 and 12. 12 here is tricky.
12-1 the corners been causing trouble for bobsledders and skeleton athletes all week. Shoots the chicane beautifully, but she's got no speed. 1:14.3. And she's behind Tina Herman, and she will drop maybe to 4th position. With still 4 to go, 6th position with the 8th fastest run, 56.10. That is 0.6 of a second slower than her first run, then without massive obvious mistakes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, the run looked decent. There were a couple of mistakes at the top of the track, and that's going to cost you down the bottom, but nothing too bad. When something like that happens in skeleton, you have to ask yourself about the setup of the sled. You know, what runners are you using? Did I get the runners right for the weather conditions? Here she comes out of the groove and she goes very early into 1, but that's not a bad thing. Going early into 1, that works. Has a really nice line through the chicane here. But by the bottom of the track, by going through the chicane, you need to build the speed in the top of the track. The chicane's not going to give you any speed, but it's going to cost you speed if you make a mistake there.
So now we are into medal territory. We are definitely within first and goal for Jacqueline Narracott for Australia. The Queenslander with her best ever heat to go 4th. And she looked very relaxed indeed between the 2 runs.
This will be a fantastic result. The Australians had such a big program, lots of resources, and then that all finished after Sochi. Everything was cancelled, and Jacqueline's just out there by herself competing and spending her own money to be on the circuit, and to be 4th after the first heat, that's huge. And come on, Jack.
Lots of the girls like Melissa Hoare, Emma Lincoln-Smith, they'll be watching and hoping that she produces a big result, because this could be the start of Australia's renaissance. She's still in the lead over Tina Herman. This is a really good-looking run. 1:10.2, that's quicker than Herman was. What's she going to have in the chicane? This is make or break. 1:15.6. It's going to be close, but she might hold her position. 1100s in hand. Will she be in front, or will Herman possibly challenge for the medals? 2100s back, she drops 4 spots. Wow, the bottom of the track is a killer. It is still comfortably her best finish in the World Cup.
Yeah, top 10's fantastic, but when you're in 4th place and you lose 4 places, that's disappointing for her.
Yeah, well, it's disappointing for her. Tina Herman, though, is riding the crest of a wave. Herman, 9th equal after the first heat, could end up in the medals. Now I want John Morgan in the truck to go back and try and think where somebody has come from further back in a first heat into a medal position. If she does, though, there's going to be heartbreak for one of the 3 remaining women. Annie O'Shea of the USA is ready to go. Tina Herman, our current leader, and the gap between them in the first heat was 52 hundredths of a second. Come on, Annie, shout the crowd. This is her home track. She's from New York State.
And Annie has never medalled before, so this is a huge opportunity for her.
Biggest ever comeback. Thomas Ducour's in Latvia, his only ever World Cup win at Sigulda, came from 13th after first heat.
I remember that race well. Nice lines through the track here.
Come on, Annie O'Shea. This is going to be such a game changer for her. If she gets on the podium here, there will be floods of tears, and not just from her. 1:11.1, top speed then, 1:17.3, top speed. She could be the girl to break Tina Herman. She's 8/10 clear and going away. And Annie O'Shea will claim her first ever World Cup medal, but is a 55.08, 4 hundredths off the track record, enough to win this race.
Really good run from Annie. Everything in that run looked good. She looked comfortable on the sled. She looked relaxed. The lines were good. Had a good start.
Well, you know what that feeling is, Ben. What is she thinking right now?
I think the biggest thing is that you want to do well. Like, you want to be on the podium and you want to be winning races, and it's a different mindset after you've actually been on the podium. Then you know that you can be on the podium. And so that first time when you make the podium, that's a really special day, and yeah, I feel great for her.
Beautiful run through the chicane. She used the hips to keep the running straight. Kendall Westenberg right in there to offer her congratulations. And so too are her male teammates and everybody else who knows her well. Her first World Cup medal, but what colour will it be? We have 2 girls now tied for the lead. Switzerland's Marina Giardoni, and the last woman on the track will be Laura Dees. This is going to be a cliffhanger.
Marina had her first World Cup podium in the last World Cup race of 2015.
Photographer dropped something into the track, luckily just as she goes by. Start record, 5:19. It was always on the cards. She did a 5:19 in training yesterday. That was unofficial. She does it today in the race. New start record and a guarantee perhaps of a medal if she has anything like her first run.
Looking so good here through the top section of the track, nice and smooth, really allowing her to build some lead. And after a start like that and a top section like that, she's going to be really hard to beat. Only 110.9, not as fast as the last athlete.
No, just a fraction behind Annie O'Shea at the chicane, 1:15.5. I think O'Shea will hold the lead. The gap will come down from 2200, quite possibly to 0. This is a great run from Marina Giardoni. Her season's gone 18th, and then she's gone into the lead is Annie O'Shea. Marina Giardoni behind her by 900ths. Marina 14th in the first race, 8th in the second, bronze in the third, and she will take at least a bronze medal here. Annie O'Shea leads the race with 1 to go, but a start record. A great way to get this second heat underway for Marina Giardoni.
Yeah, sure was. So fantastic and fast at the start. Coming through 14 here. Nice line through 15, 16. Shedding, going straight through the chicane.
Big skid though on the way up that hill, and that just puts the brakes on. So now, Laura Dees, rhymes with peas is how she tells you how her name should be said. This week it's been frozen peas. It's been so cold, but Laura has been absolutely on fire on this Lake Placid track. Winner in Altenburg, another epic driver's track. She leads after the first heat. Laura's advantage over Annie O'Shea, the current leader, was 1/10 of a second. She cannot afford any mistakes. 5:23 getaway.
Yeah, really nice start from Laura. Looking really good on the track at the moment.
2/10 up as she lay down. Started as a decathlete and an equestrian rider, horse rider.
Still looking good coming into corner 10. So important to have a nice line coming out of corner 10. That sets you up for 11 and 12.
1:09.9, little slower than Annie O'Shea. So the gap has come down from 2100s to 13. Great run through the chicane, 1:15.2. O'Shea was 1:17.3. Laura Dees is behind and will stay behind. Annie O'Shea is going to win her first ever World Cup medal, her first ever race here as Laura takes the bronze behind Marina Giardoni. Annie O'Shea wins in Lake Placid. What better place? Her home ice, her home state. And Laura Dees is looking to see where she finished. Bronze for Laura, silver for Marina, but gold for Annie O'Shea.
What an incredible day for Annie O'Shea.
Martina Herman missed out on the medals from tying 9th in the first heat though. She keeps her World Cup lead, I think, probably, as she gets a 4th place. Well, Laura, couple of little errors. She just didn't find the lines that Annie O'Shea did. Annie found speed that nobody else could here. Well, Marina will be disappointed, Laura will be disappointed, but there will be nobody disappointed to see Annie win. Laura knows exactly that feeling. It happened to her 3 races ago.
Yeah, Annie's been sliding for a long time and she hasn't had the easiest of careers. She's had her ups and downs, and so to come out here on your home track and to win a race, to win a World Cup race and have that be your first time on the podium, that's a fantastic day.
Well, the family will be here watching Annie O'Shea from Port Jefferson Station, New York, win her first ever race, her first ever medal in Lake Placid. USA on the top step of the podium, Switzerland in 2nd, Great Britain in 3rd. Noelle Piker's Pace, the last American to win a women's skeleton gold medal a couple seasons back in her epic duels with Elizabeth Yarnold. So Annie O'Shea steps up here in Lake Placid. It's going to be a very happy family dinner tonight in Dancing Bears, guaranteed that they will be relaxing and enjoying the moment. Well, there is how the field jiggled around. Olga Potolitsina moved up the order. Takako Oguchi moved up the order. And the biggest mover of all was Tina Herman, our World Cup points leader, who finished 4th. Well, one of the things that you get when you come to classic tracks is classic races, Ben, and that wasn't short on excitement from start to finish, was it?
No, it wasn't, and that's a good thing about Lake Placid. Like, anything can happen here in Lake Placid. It's a difficult track, and just when you think you've got the race won, it slips away from you and someone else takes the win. And really tight racing, some great starts today, some good sliding, and yeah, that was exciting.
Well, we always say that you can't win it on one good run, you have to have two, but there were so many sliders who didn't have two good runs. Annie had a decent first run and then a really blinding second run, and that was the big difference. And it's interesting to, you know, you'll never be able to go back and rerun this, but if she'd led after the first heat, would she have felt the pressure? Would she have produced that run? Was it being able to hunt them down? Was it being the chaser that allowed her maybe just to be a bit more free and easy with her slide?
Yeah, you're right. That's a big thing in sliding, you know, how you deal with the pressure yourself. What sort of mind games is your mind playing with you, and how you deal with that. And I'm sure all the athletes in the field, you know, they have certain ways of coping with the pressure and certain procedures and routines that, you know, help them get through the day and to focus on sliding and, you know, get rid of those inner demons.
Yep.
And Annie's done a fantastic job, and maybe that helps, you know, being in third place and, you know, allowing, you know, yourself to concentrate on the fact that you can get better. You're not on the lead, you can concentrate on, you know, attacking and moving forward.
And third place, even if she held that, that would be her best race ever. And, you know, that's a big goal. But now having won, having been on the podium, that changes the focus again. Now it's disappointment if you're not on the podium. That's a real game changer for Annie O'Shea. But until that time comes, for now, she's just got to enjoy this moment. Lake Placid, New York, a beautiful winter's day, a classic track, a classic setting, and an American winner for the fans to enjoy. The first race of the weekend sees Annie O'Shea, a New York State resident, claim her first ever World Cup medal, her first ever World Cup win. Tina Herman with fourth place continues to lead the World Cup rankings from teammate Jacqueline Lurling. Laura Dees took third. She remains third in the standings. Jane Channel moves up from sixth ahead of Marina Giardoni into fourth position. So a few changes around. Nikitina, Kanakina and Oliver back home in Europe training up for the World Championships. We won't see them again until Samoritz, I imagine. And the young Russians coming in, all acquitted themselves well, or both acquitted themselves well. The rookies, Renata Kutsina and Anastasia Schlapak, both making the field. But Annie O'Shea, her day of days. We sensed it was possible after the first heat. She looked good in training. She looked exceptional in this second run. Her second heat, 55.08, just 400ths off the track record. And Ben, that was all it took to defeat the two girls that were a tenth quicker than her in the first heat and claim that gold medal. Well, what a moment for Annie O'Shea. And US Skeleton back on the top step of the podium. And I'm sure when we get to Salt Lake City, we will see the last American girl to win a gold medal in women's skeleton, Noelle Piker's pace. I'm sure she'll be there with her husband Jansen and the kids. Congratulations. Laura Dees on the right, Marina Giardoni on the left, bronze and silver medalists, and Annie O'Shea. There you go. Unfamiliar territory for her, but I'm sure she could get used to that. So that is the first race of our North American swing. A week from now, they'll be racing in Salt Lake City. Then we head to the fastest track on the planet, to Whistler, to round out the US-Canada leg of the tour. Until then, though, from Lake Placid, from Ben Sanford, from the IBSF TV crew, and from me, Martin Haven, thank you for joining us. It's goodbye from here.